What if your child's anxiety isn't actually an anxiety problem? What if their meltdowns aren't a behavior problem? What if the reason therapy hasn't worked isn't because your child is resistant or broken, but because everyone's been looking in the wrong place? I know that might sound surprising. I'm Kendra, and I've been a child therapist for 11 years. I'm also the founder of Child Therapy Center of Los Angeles. And here's what I've seen over and over. When a child is struggling, when they're having meltdowns over small things, when they can't sit still, when they're anxious about everything, their body is trying to tell us something. The behavior, the anxiety, the struggles, those are all just symptoms. They're the tip of the iceberg. And most therapists spend all their time trying to manage what's above the surface. They teach coping skills, they do behavior charts, but they're not addressing what's actually driving the behavior. What's happening beneath the surface in your child's nervous system. And here's the thing. Your child is not trying to be difficult, I promise. Their body is just stuck in a stress response. And until we address that, the behavior isn't going to change. Not at least in a meaningful way that lasts. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what that missing piece is and why understanding it changes everything. So most therapists, even really good experienced ones, focus on what they can see, what's observable. So the meltdowns, the anxiety, the refusal to do homework or go to school, and they try to address and fix those things. They teach your child coping skills. They also create behavior charts. They try to get your child to talk about their feelings, and maybe it does help in the moment, but then you're back to square one. Why doesn't it last? The meltdowns keep happening, the anxiety just doesn't go away, and you're left wondering why nothing's sticking. So here's the problem. Kids are not just mini adults. You can't use adult talk therapy techniques on a 7-year-old or even a teenager and expect it to work in the same way, because children don't process emotions and stress the way we do. They can't always put words to what they're feeling, and honestly, most adults can't do this either, even on our best days. So when we expect kids to sit in a room and verbalize what's going on inside of them, we're setting them up to fail. But here's what's really happening. When therapists focus only on the behavior, they're treating the symptom and not the cause. It's almost like putting a band-aid on a broken bone. You might cover up what you can see, but you're not actually healing what's broken underneath. And that's why therapy stalls. That's why you keep showing up week after week and nothing's really moving the needle. So we worked with an 8-year-old girl who was just really struggling with school. She got kicked out several times. She ran into conflict with her teachers and eventually the principal. So by the time she got to us, this family was really stressed and she was just really struggling. Now, where things went wrong is the school really focused on her behaviors. They asked her to apologize. They wanted course correction. They wanted behavior improvement right away, understandably so. But I knew there was a root cause that we were overlooking. And so after several months with us, we learned that she unfortunately had an undiagnosed GI disorder that was causing her chronic pain and inflammation. And so we didn't know this until we sent her and collaborated on care with a developmental pediatrician who was thankfully able to find it. Now, she wasn't feeling good. And of course, when we don't feel good, we don't act good. Those two things are directly linked. And she also struggled with a sensory processing disorder. So she heard things almost twice as loud as her classmates. And so imagine having a really bad stomach ache and hearing things really loudly. You're not gonna naturally want to be kind and a good listener and patient and all these things. And so this is what the root cause looks like in action. We didn't just ask her to stop doing things or reward her for having better behavior. We knew something beneath the surface was driving the behavior. We addressed that, and now she's thriving in school and beyond. So remember, the behavior, the meltdowns, the anxiety, the aggression, the shutting down, that's not the problem. That's just what we can see. It's the tip of the iceberg. And if we only focus on that, we're missing the entire picture. So what is the missing piece? It's your child's nervous system. And I know that might sound clinical or like therapy jargon, but stay with me because this is actually really simple once you understand it. Your child's nervous system is constantly scanning their environment to figure out, am I safe or am I in danger? Now, it's really important to remember that this isn't always logical or rational. For example, the 8-year-old who was struggling in school, she was logically safe. She was in a classroom that was protected. There wasn't real threat in her environment, but the threat was coming from inside her body, from her stomach aches. And so it's really important to not be overly logical here because threat is real or perceived. And when the nervous system detects danger or threat, even if it's perceived, their body goes into a stress response, and this is where we see struggle and behaviors. And when that happens, kids can't think clearly. Learning is really challenging, and they can't regulate their emotions. Their bodies have a hard time calming down because their body is doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that is to protect them from danger. Now, here's the thing. For some kids, their nervous system gets stuck in a stress response. Maybe because of something that happened to them, a trauma, a move, a big life change, the pandemic, a divorce, or maybe because of something happening within their body, such as the 8-year-old girl, chronic pain, poor sleep, sensory processing challenges, blood sugar crashes, maybe even too much screen time. Or maybe because the adults around them are stressed, and kids pick up on that. They are sponges to the adults around them. Their nervous system mirrors ours. And when a child's nervous system is stuck in a stress response, everything becomes more difficult. They can't sit in class, they melt down over and over, and they're really sensitive to small changes and adjustments. They might be anxious about everything, and they refuse to do the things that used to be easy. And it's not because they're choosing to be difficult, it's because their body doesn't feel safe. So we were working with a 14-year-old girl whose parents were separating, and they first came to therapy. Parents described her as being withdrawn, not really wanting to spend time with the family. At times, she was even defiant. She just wasn't herself, and she was sharing with her parents her anxiety is so bad she didn't even want to go to school. So parents did everything they could to help her. They talked to her about it. They tried to do coping skills with her. There was a lot of effort without a lot of return. So once she came to see us, we actually broke things down on a very simple level, and we created an iceberg model for her. And what we saw was that her parents were contemplating a divorce. Now, her parents were very, very good at not speaking to their daughter about what was going on. But kids are really smart at detecting the truth with their nervous system. So just because she didn't see her parents fighting or talk about a separation, she saw through the forced smiles and the curated moments. She knew something was wrong, but she couldn't put into words. So her nervous system did it for her. And this is where we saw anxiety, talking back, things like that. But her root cause was feeling chronically unsafe in her home because she was picking up on the state of her parents' nervous system. Now, I know you're going to ask, do parents need to have a perfect regulated nervous system all the time? Absolutely not. It's impossible. Part of being human is living in stress responses and learning how to deal with it. But it was really important for her parents to be honest with her, and that is actually what shifted the anxiety so swiftly. And look, if you're hearing this and thinking, this is exactly what my child needs, I want you to find a therapist who actually understands this. We would love to talk to you. We offer free consultation calls where we can learn more about what's going on in your child and help you figure out if our approach is the right fit. You can find the link to a call in the description below. So when therapists only focus on a behavior, when they teach coping skills or do behavior charts, they're not addressing what's actually driving the behavior. They're not helping the child's body feel safe again. And until the body feels safe, the behavior doesn't budge, not in a way that lasts. So what does it look like to actually address the nervous system? What does it mean to treat the root cause instead of just the symptoms? It means we don't just ask, what's the behavior? We ask, what's happening in the body? We look at the whole child and all of the parts of the child that are working together, brain and body. We look at their sleep because if a child isn't getting enough rest, the nervous system can't regulate. We look at the sensory system because some kids hear things twice as loud, such as the girl we mentioned, or some kids feel textures more intensely, and that constant overwhelm keeps their body in a stress response. We look at what they're eating because blood sugar crashes can easily trigger meltdowns, and every child has a different set of needs when it comes to nutrition. We look at screen time because too much stimulation can absolutely dysregulate the nervous system and wreak havoc on the brain. We also look at the stress levels of parents because kids' nervous systems are sponges to their parents. And again, it's not about being perfect, but it's about making sure that you're doing what you need to do to have a regulated nervous system most days. And here's what's so important. We don't just work with the child. We love parents and we work very closely with parents because you know your child better than anyone. You see patterns that a therapist only sees for 1 hour a week. So we want to make sure that you're part of the process and you have an idea of what's happening inside of therapy. And when we can help you understand what's happening in your child's body, when we can give you tools to help their nervous system feel safe in all environments, everything changes. Not just in the therapy room, but at home, at school, with friends, and sports. We care deeply about setting your child up for success for years to come. And this is what we call a root cause approach. And it's why our therapists have 4 times the amount of training in child development than a typical therapist. Because most therapists are trained in adult therapy techniques, they're not trained to understand how a child's body and nervous system works. They're not trained to look at the nervous system, which is the missing piece, but also the unlock to your child's well-being. When you address the nervous system, when you help a child's body feel safe again, you're not just managing behavior, you're addressing the root cause. And that's when kids don't just get a little better, they transform. The meltdowns decrease, the anxiety reduces, their confidence skyrockets, and we see happy, resilient kids who can tackle the world. They start showing up differently everywhere, and you, as a parent, you finally feel like you can breathe again. So here's what I want you to take away from this. If your child's therapy isn't working, it's not because your child can't be helped. It's because there's a piece that's been missing, and now you know what that piece is. If you're in the Los Angeles area and you're ready to find a therapist who can actually address the nervous system, who looks at the whole child, not just the behavior, we'd love to speak with you. We offer free consultation calls where we can learn about your child and help figure out if it's a right fit. Link to book is in the description below. And if you want more content like this, if you want to understand what's really going on in your child and how to support them better, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We post new videos every week with insights that can help you navigate this journey. Thank you for watching, and I am rooting for your family.